How low can you go?
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Let's see how Earth responds to that.
America!
Is it?
Smash it.
Everyone's like, oh my God, in and out, in and out. And I'm like, my controversial non-political opinion is that it's overrated.
Wrong, wrong.
USA, USA, USA.
Is it?
I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well.
Hello.
I'm a double.
You crazy? Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Yasmin Aliyah Khan. So, hey, how you doing, Yas?
I'm good. Good to be back on.
All right, good to have you. You can, of course, check out Yaz on Rebel Headquarters as well. Is that on YouTube? Well, of course it is. Don't be ridiculous. TYT.com? Of course, don't be ridiculous. All right, so we got a lot of stuff for you guys. We do have, of course, as usual with politicians, the usual set of despicable news. Randy Fine talking about now murdering mainstream Muslims. Just killing us all, apparently. But that's not, she shouldn't get censured over that. No. Only if you criticize some people, not all people. And then Donald Trump is up to potentially invading Venezuela. You know that, but then the question is, what's the Democratic reaction? And that's a little surprising. Although, are we surprised with anything with the Democrats? Speaking of which, later in the show, AI, that's the Republicans are deregulating and it's we're worried about it. And that's why the Democrats agree with them. Oh, for God's sake. So we've got plenty of that on today's show. Oh, by the way, at 8 o'clock when we do the revolution, we're gonna yoga our way to the revolution, apparently. It's a fun little segment. We're gonna do an interview with someone who says that's the right way to the revolution. I mean, you want to talk about libbing out. At 8 o'clock Eastern, we will lib out on that. Anyways, all right, yes, let's get started.
Yeah, I do yoga, so I'm gonna be sure to catch that one. That sounds good. But we do have a lot of other stories to get to, so let's get right into this first one.
And a judge has ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia be immediately released from immigration detention. The administration is trying to send him to Liberia after first deporting him to El Salvador against the judge's order. Now a federal judge says the absence of a removal order prevents the government from deporting him at all.
Well, after a saga that has gone on for way longer than it ever should have, a federal judge has ordered the immediate release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, citing Abrego Garcia's initial wrongful detention in El Salvador, and then his second detention, which was done without lawful authority. So the deadline for release was set as no later than 5 p.m. Eastern time today, so he should be out by now. Cenk, before we get into the details though, your 2 cents on all this.
Yeah, so there's one piece of spectacular news here. The good news is about justice in this particular case. The better news is about the precedent overall. But I do want to note here real quick, Liberia, we're gonna send the brother to Liberia. Why? This is just absolutely absurd. And then my favorite is the judge's reason for denying it. So let's get into it, and then I'll do the comments.
Right. So just to quickly recap for our audience, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was taken from his wife and children. He was living in Maryland, and then he was deported to the Secot prison in El Salvador in March of this year. The Trump administration said that he was a member of MS-13, which has never been proven. In June, he was finally brought back to the United States, but only to stand trial for human trafficking charges that had been brought against him as part of this big PR campaign that the Trump administration was running to justify the fact that they detained and deported Abrego Garcia in the first place. He was later detained a second time by immigration officers. The federal government tried to deport him then to Liberia this time, but they were blocked from doing so. They also tried unsuccessfully to deport him to Uganda, Eswatini, and Ghana, even though Abrego Garcia's preferred country of removal was Costa Rica, and Costa Rica was actually offering him residence and refugee status. Of course, the Trump administration is not happy about this order. Tricia McLaughlin, the spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, had this to say about the ruling. She said, "This is naked judicial activism by an Obama-appointed judge. This order lacks any valid legal basis, and we will continue to fight this tooth and nail in the courts." And Cenk, I have an update from our producers. Abrego Garcia's legal team has said that he has been released, so that is good to hear. What are your thoughts?
All right, excellent. Hey, they followed the judge's orders. That's amazing. Okay, so first of all, Uganda, Eswatini, Ghana. The judge said, basically, common sense here is going Ghana. No, we're not gonna send him to Ghana or Liberia for no reason at all. That's ludicrous, right? But my favorite is the judge saying, well, but the core of the ruling is because there is an absence of a removal order. Well, how are you gonna remove the brother if there's no removal order? Like, do we have any, like, does the Trump administration think that any laws apply at all to them, to their actions, to the government? Or is the government just like anarchy now? Who cares what the laws of America are, what the Constitution are? Okay, yeah, we don't have a removal order. So what? What do we need your stinking laws for? And we want to send them to where here? Throw a dart, yeah, Ghana, yeah, that's it. So, but now the good news. Hey, look at that, the system's working. And the judge is saying, no, you don't get to make up rules. You don't get to make up removal orders or make up countries you're gonna send them to. Do you have evidence? What's your evidence? Forget the evidence, no one even asked to remove them. There's no order to remove them. So what is this? What are you guys doing? And now there's been a stunning number of cases where the judges, Democratic, Republican, Trump appointed, doesn't matter, are coming back and going, this is not a thing. So like, get your act in order and come back in with at least some sort of argument based in the law, you buffoons. So, and they released him, as we just told you. That's breaking news happening right now. And so, look, what we were concerned about is not whether Donald Trump would try to stretch the law, the Constitution, etc. He's a guy who said we should terminate the Constitution after he lost in 2020. So that was never in doubt. And Trump is constantly testing boundaries for how far he can go, how much power he can seize for himself, extrajudicially, extra legally, etc. So the question was twofold. One was, are the courts gonna hold? And so far so good. By the way, they're not always gonna rule in our favor, and oftentimes they're gonna stretch to go to Trump's direction. That isn't the question. The question is, yes, but are they gonna roughly be within the scope of the law and the Constitution? And so far the courts have been. Number two is, yes, but when the courts order Trump to do something, is he gonna create a constitutional crisis and go, I don't need no stinking courts, I'm the guy with the guns because we're the executive branch. And so far he has not done that. I mean, he fights it all the way to the end, and then he complies at the end, and that's super important. Because if he crossed that Rubicon, we'd be having a completely different conversation. So those are two things that are great. And then lastly, Yaz, one of the questions we had, because media makes such a big difference in swinging public opinion and hence politics and elections, how would the Trump supporters that were independent broadcasters, podcasters, etc., react to abuses like this. And so far, they've been terrific with Rogan and Dylan and so many others going, no, nobody asked for these mass deportations and for you to pick up grandma and for you to make up laws and for you to send this guy to Timbuktu. It just, none of that makes sense, so cut the crap out. So both the independent media and the courts have held, and that's definitely great news.
Yeah, and I do think it's sad that whenever they actually did follow the court ruling, that was a victory for us, because you never know. There have been plenty of times when this administration has just disregarded court rulings in the past, and now they're going to continue fighting it, saying that they're going to fight this in the courts, and they really have no legal basis. Like, there's no way that they can win this, and they must know that, because this whole thing was fabricated in the first place as I said, a PR campaign, because they screwed up. They sent a guy away that they should not have sent away. And then they had to justify it, saying, yeah, we may have accidentally sent him to El Salvador, but he was a bad guy anyway, so it's fine. So anyway, we're gonna move on to our next story. Let's roll the tape.
Do you disagree with President Trump's ultimate goal of regime change in Venezuela?
Okay, so Cenk, do you think Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is about to make a strong case against regime change in Venezuela? What do you think he's gonna say in this clip?
Chuck Schumer making a strong case, period, about anything. Okay, so that is very, very unlikely. But what you are about to see is, do the Democrats stand firm, generally speaking, at least against the idea of going to war with Venezuela? Or are they secretly in favor of going to war with Venezuela? And after we get past that question, why? What force is getting Democrats to go in a certain direction in this story? So let's give you the facts.
Okay, so here is how Schumer actually did respond to Jake Tapper.
Look, the bottom line is President Trump throws out so many different things in so many different ways. You don't even know what the heck he's talking about. You know, obviously, if Maduro would just flee on his own, everyone would like that. But we don't know what the heck he's up to when he talks about that. So it's very, you cannot say, I endorse this, I endorse that, when Trump is all over the lot, not very specific, and very worrisome at how far he might escalate.
Oh, so he said nothing. Well, the question is, who benefits from a regime change operation in Venezuela? You know who benefits. It is the American corporations. And that was unveiled by the New York Times, which actually did some excellent reporting on Maria Corina Machado, one of the opposition leaders in Venezuela. And they said that Machado has touted an economic plan to American and other investors, saying that a democratic Venezuela under her movement's control has the potential to generate $1.7 trillion in wealth in 15 years. And in June, she told American corporate representatives, our message to the oil companies is, we want you here, certainly. We want you here, not producing crumbs of a couple 100,000 barrels a day. We want you here producing millions of barrels a day. So who else benefits from ousting Maduro? Florida politicians like Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, is an important figure in South Florida's Venezuelan and Cuban exile communities who have helped him win past races for the Florida legislature in the US and the US Senate. The crucial voting bloc has loudly called for Maduro's ouster. So Kurt Mills, the executive director of American Conservative Magazine, has argued that even if the regime change effort fails, Trump and JD Vance will be on the hook, not Marco Rubio. So it said if the administration goes up because Marco Rubio spearheaded an invasion, that's JD Vance's problem. Rubio can just slip back into politics and pretend he wasn't involved in this and run again in 2032 and 2036. So to bring it all back to Chuck Schumer, when he refuses to condemn a regime change operation, Schumer appears to be on the side of one, giant American corporations, and two, Marco Rubio's political ambitions. Representative Ro Khanna forcefully spoke out against Chuck Schumer, stating, yes, Democrats oppose regime change war in Venezuela. Instead of wasting trillions on endless wars, we must invest in jobs, healthcare, and housing for Americans. Why is this hard? We need a new generation to lead our party with moral clarity and conviction. Okay, and Cenk, before I toss it over to you, I feel like I have to say this because there's not a whole lot of Guyanese representation in American media, but my family is from Guyana, which is the tiny country right next to Venezuela, and there is a ton of oil in Guyana. And when they discovered the oil, it reignited an old border dispute between Venezuela and Guyana that goes back about a century or so to the European colonial days. So Guyana has seen its fair share of American intervention in the past, but currently Guyana has a good relationship with the U.S. The U.S. is investing heavily in the country and in its oil. I do wonder if Venezuela is courting the U.S. and its oil companies, at least in part, in an effort to finally stake its claim in Guyana. Another thing to consider with all of this is that China is heavily invested all over South America, and Venezuela specifically has ties to Russia. So the US right now is trying to play catch up if it wants to make South America the new Middle East. And speaking of, they're already using some of the same language from the Iraq invasion to justify what is now going on in the Caribbean, calling the tankers that they're attacking weapons of mass destruction. And if that doesn't trigger people from 2001, it really should. But beyond that, there is, of course, another consideration. Cenk, we know that war is incredibly profitable. And since Trump has been ending wars all over the place, he's got to put some money back into some pockets. What do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, tankers, oil tankers are weapons of mass destruction now?
That's what they're saying.
Well, we have a lot of them. Who are we killing with our oil tankers? Although, to be fair, the oil in the tankers are kind of doing mass destruction on the planet through climate change. But I'm pretty sure that's not what Trump means. Okay, they're desperate to make up things to try to start this war with Venezuela. It's insanity. If you don't think that the fact that Venezuela is the largest oil reserve in the world is relevant to why we're starting a war with Venezuela, you're a sucker. You're incredibly gullible. You'll believe almost anything. Fentanyl, there's almost no fentanyl in Venezuela. There's a tiny bit of cocaine that they do, but there's a hell of a lot more oil. This is obviously about the oil. And we've invaded now a number of countries that were top 10 in largest oil reserves in the world. I'm sure that the fact that the only countries we invaded are in that list is just another wild coincidence. Okay, so now, but the Democrats aren't taking a lot of oil money, so that's probably not the reason why Chuck Schumer was so equivocal there. So that makes me search for another reason, which we'll get to in a second. But Chuck Schumer's response, I mean, what was that? And he's like, well, I can't endorse this or that because I don't know what Trump is saying. What the hell is he talking about? No, it's super clear what he's saying. He's saying, I'm gonna attack them by water. When they ask him, are you gonna attack them by land? He said, yeah, probably. And he has been crystal clear that he wants to attack Venezuela and drive out Garcia. Where's the question? Why is that so hard to figure out? And even if you thought, well, you know what, he probably means that. Is it 80% or 98% or whatever percentage likelihood that he means that? But I'm gonna be reserved in opposing him because of that 2% doubt. Really? No, why don't you just say, well, if he means attack Venezuela, then he's crazy. He ran on anti-war. That's obviously pro-war, so he's obviously a giant liar. It's about the oil in Venezuela. It's not complicated at all. I can't tell what he means. What do you mean you can't tell what it means? We all have eyes and ears. We know exactly what he means. So why are you not giving a clear answer here? Forget being strong. He didn't even say no. He didn't even say no to the war. So no, the Democrats are the worst. They're the worst. Democratic leadership. And why? Remember what they did with the Iraq war? Almost all the Democratic leaders voted for the Iraq war. They said, oh, it's Bush and Cheney's war. That's true. And then Biden and Hillary Clinton and John Kerry was like, yes, war, yes, 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 right? So there are always these scum, uniparty guys on both sides who are total corporate goons working for the donor class, etc. This is the dumbest, most unnecessary war I have ever seen. If they actually, I still can't believe they're gonna launch it. because it would be such a needless disaster. It would be, it's preposterous. And guys, it's not just because it's a bad war, but it's because it'll have blowback politically. Anyone who touched this war, the minute we start taking casualties, if it gets to that, and they really are going to do ground troops in Caracas, are they insane? Are they insane? That is going to be politically supernova toxic. Anyone who was in favor of it or wasn't adamantly opposed to it later will pretend, oh no, I was for or against the war with Venezuela before I was for it. Blah, 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 blah. Now you're all gonna get caught and you're all gonna look like Dick Cheney in history. And guys, do they ever do anything for us? Ever, for the American people, ever? I get that ExxonMobil wants you to start this war. I get that your donors want you to start this war. But what does it have to do with us? And if you don't know, we don't get the oil. The companies get the oil at a reduced price, so their profit margins explode and they make so much more money. Then they sell it to us at the same exact price. We get zero benefit. Even if you wanted to steal their oil, you can't even do that. No, ExxonMobil steals their oil, sells it to you at the same prices today, and pockets the difference. See, corporations run our government. We don't run our government. So then finally, when I come back, and you see Ro Khanna, why do I support Ro Khanna? Because he's saying obvious things, and he's almost the only one, and he's almost the only one fighting back. See, you saw that tweet that Yaz just read? You're super easy and obvious. No, don't go to war with Venezuela. That's crazy. Totally against it. What's hard about that? God, man. It's not just Democratic leadership. There's like 90% of Democrats in Congress do absolutely nothing. You don't even know their names? I don't even know half their names because they literally do nothing. They're the most useless people you've ever seen in your life. Meanwhile, the Republicans are like, war, 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 corporate donors, yes. So you have like a monstrous party and a piece of crap, useless party who goes, oh, okay, I guess so. I don't know what's going on, but let's go to war. There's like only 2 or 3 people that ever fight back. So why is Chuck Schumer in favor of this war based on that answer? I don't know. So it made me think, Yaz, wait, does Israel want this war? Because I can't imagine any other reason why Chuck Schumer or Democrats would be in favor of this maniacal war.
Yeah, it really is puzzling how the Democrats are just like, yeah, I guess we'll just do this. For the longest time, it was like, why are we attacking these people? They haven't done anything. That was the rhetoric across, a lot of media, and a lot of representatives were saying that as well. And now it's like, oh, okay, like maybe regime change is okay. And, we're following the Dick Cheney playbook here. This is Dick Cheney's legacy. He's not even around anymore. And we're doing play by play exactly what he did to justify the invasion of Iraq and also Afghanistan. I mean, they're saying that this is going to be a quick in and out mission. We'll just get in, take them out, come back out. It'll be fine. We should know from experience, from personal lived experience, because like how old are any of us, that is not how these things work, right? It is incredibly disruptive, not only to the land that we're going and invading, because that is what this is. Let's not sugarcoat it. It is incredibly disruptive to that place. It's not going to work out well for the actual people. And it is worth mentioning that a lot of Venezuelans want this intervention from the United States because they are tired of the Maduro government, and they have a lot of reasons to be tired of the Maduro government. But we know that whenever the US gets involved in these things, it doesn't ever work out well for the people of that country. Or if it does, it's more like a side effect kind of thing. But they're saying we're just gonna get in there, in and get out very quickly. But like we've seen how that went down in Iraq, and we saw how it worked in Afghanistan. These are still ongoing problems 20 years later that we're still dealing with, that we're still putting money into, that we're still sending our troops to.
Yeah.
So we know that this is not going to go as easily as they want it to. This is all propaganda, and it's crazy to me that people will hear this and not immediately think back to the early 2000s George W. Bush administration.
So yes, last 2 things here. When they say it's going to be easy, it sounds like we're going to be greeted as liberators. I remember when we were greeted as liberators in Iraq. That worked out great. Yeah. Look, the Venezuelan people might not be in favor of Maduro. They're very likely not in favor of Maduro. They might be very happy to have him leave, but no one's ever happy to be bombed. So like if a neocon is telling you, oh no, the Arabs love being bombed, we're doing them a favor, or now the Venezuelans love when a bomb is dropped on their family. They love that. They'll throw roses at our feet. Literally last time they said they'd throw roses at our feet. If by roses they meant IEDs, I guess that was right, but I don't think that's what they meant. Okay, so now I want to show you though, last time cable news and all of mainstream media went along with the Iraq war, and then afterwards they did the self-flagellation like the Shia, like, oh my God, oh, we were wrong, I can't believe we were wrong. We're gonna get it right next time. So CNN brings on an expert to tell us about the seizing the oil tanker, because that seems like a super aggressive move that is meant to escalate the conflict and lead to war, but that's okay. CNN has learned its lesson, so let's see what the expert has to say.
We've had sanctions on Venezuelan oil since the first Trump administration. And
Biden kept them.
Kept them.
Yeah.
So to me, this is absolutely normal. I mean,
seizing an oil tanker?
Yeah, we've been seizing Iranian oil tankers in the past. We also, according to the law that I've read, that oil is up for forfeiture. So we could keep that. We've kept Iranian oil in the past. So I actually think that this is less controversial in terms of law and sanctions and what has been, disputed or not disputed. Like, I think this is actually a pretty, check the box case.
Yeah, check the box for war. Okay, calling random things weapons of mass destruction, check. Saying we'll be greeted as liberators, check. and on it goes. She just said it's normal. It's normal. She's like, yeah, of course, every once in a while we'll seize an Iranian oil tanker and just steal it. And then now we're stealing Venezuelan oil. And she said, they're up for forfeiture. Well, if the oil in that tanker is up for forfeiture because of the so-called sanctions, and the sanctions are us just going, we think you're a bad guy, so we're gonna just take all your crap, okay? Is that a thing? Can other people do that to us? No, it would lead to war. So of course, that's not anywhere near normal. But according to her logic, since sanctions lead to potential forfeitures, we could literally steal all of their oil. We could steal all of it and go, whoa, perfectly normal. We had sanctions, we had forfeiture. We stole every single thing in your country because we can steal whatever we want. And CNN will call that perfectly normal. Or we're going to war for oil companies? Perfectly normal. Perfect, what are you guys complaining about? Later, Jake Tapper will write a book about nobody could have seen that this was for oil and it was totally illegal.
Yeah, I mean, if it isn't controversial, maybe it should be, just because something is normal and just because something happens very often, more often than it should, doesn't mean that it's okay or that it should continue. And also, yeah, it is a thing, Jank. It's called piracy. That's just what we're doing. We're glorified pirates right now, or that's how we're acting.
Yeah. Jake Tapper, nobody could have seen it wasn't perfectly normal. Okay, all right, guys, we're gonna take a break here. When we come back, so now Trump, this is unreal, and we're not joking, it's not hyperbole. Trump is threatening to attack a different country. For God's sake, when we return. All right, back on TYT. Deb Long 1083 writes in on Super Chat. Why isn't the NATO Secretary General Rutten saying we must be ready for the scale of war our grandparents endured being talked about? Seems important. Deb, I have to confess, I didn't see that. So I'm gonna look into that because you pointed it out. That is a weird, scary thing for the NATO Secretary General to say. And obviously there's the question of does he know something we don't know? Oh, by the way, I misspoke in the earlier segment. I said ousting Garcia when I meant ousting Maduro. sometimes you get these slip ups, but wanted to correct it because we care about correcting things. YouTube member Ronald Fan R3Z says, happy Thursday, TYT family, to you, Jank and Yaz, and thanks for sending me those stories of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. If the judges release him, the Trump administration will be crying. Well, they did release him, so now they're apparently going to be crying. And they probably will, we wanted to send him to Venus, why won't they let us? Trump's like, I heard he was an illegal alien, thinking of sending him to Uranus. Okay, look at this, just Vegas on a 50 stream streak on Twitch. All right, good for you. Angry Com says, I've always wondered why we were bombing boats and whose idea was it. I get it now, it gives us the excuse to pirate oil tankers. Partly, but mainly we're just trying to start the war in every way that we can. Because they're hoping that people go, why are you letting them kill Venezuelan citizens? Like some percentage of which are fishermen, right? And that Venezuela retaliates, and then they go, oh, they pull in Israel. We're the victims. We were murdering random civilians and seizing their oil tankers, but they unjustly attacked us. And then that's their excuse for going to war. Seprico 1223 says, if Trump brings us to World War III, I'm not gonna waste my time being angry at the Democrats. So here's what I wanna tell you, okay? So I get what you're saying. You're saying, look, the Republicans are the ones that are actually doing these things, so you should spend most, if not all of your time criticizing them. And as the Democrats suck at responding or secretly agree, like don't spend too much time on that because they're not the one driving it, the Republicans are. But legitimate point, I totally get it. But brother, here's the thing. Or sorry, I don't know if you're brother or sister, but I just generally say brother. But we need someone on our side. And it's not about I hate Republicans and I hate Democrats and I hate them equally. No, it's about why don't we support guys like Roe and Bernie Sanders, who are also in the Democratic Party and are actually on the right side of it. I gotta criticize Schumer and all the other corporate Democrats so we don't make the mistake of picking them as our leaders. Instead, we should pick people like Ro Khanna, Bernie Sanders, etc., as our leaders, so they actually fight for the things you believe in. That's why it's so important to point out the problems of Democratic leadership. I mean, you saw that spectacularly in the last election when we said criticize the Democratic leader Joe Biden, and if we'd done that earlier and the people had listened, we could have won the election. Back on TYT, Cenk and Yaz with you guys. Just a quick reminder, if you're paying more than $50 for your cell phone service, there's literally no reason to. I know people get nervous about switching their phones, but remember, you're not switching your phone or your phone number or any of your contacts. Your phone remains identical, but 10 minutes later, you have a significantly lower bill for your phone. Okay, it's tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. The most you can pay here is $50. So if you're paying more than $50, you're literally throwing money away every month for no reason at all. If you have bad, like let's say for some crazy scenario you switch and for some reason your cell phone service is not as good, you can just switch right back. That also takes only 5 minutes. And if you switch right back, by the way, Verizon and AT&T will give you a lot of money to switch back. So you almost cannot go wrong if you go to tyt.com/switch. And I say $50 the max. I got more than $10 back my first month. So you could be as low as 40, 30, etc. Their data limit is huge and they give you money back if you don't use it all. All right, yes, what's next?
All right, so as he said, Trump is trying to attack another country in South America. Let's watch.
Can you talk to the president of Mexico? You already talked to Nicolas Maduro. Have you considered talking to the president of Colombia, who you call a drug dealer?
No, I haven't really thought too much about him. He's been fairly hostile to the United States, and I haven't given him a lot of thought. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up. or he'll be next. He'll be next too. I hope he's listening. He's going to be next.
All right, well, yesterday, President Donald Trump warned Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, that his country is in the crosshairs for US military intervention and he better wise up. Cenk, what am I missing? Is there oil in Colombia? Let's get your 2 cents.
No, this one is just Trump being Trump. How dare you say anything about me? You have hurt my feelings. And my feelings are so much more important than American interests. So I might send good American men and women to go die there to protect my feelings from this dastardly foreign leader. And let's also, after we give you the facts of the story, talk about what has been our relationship in the past with Colombia. And are we just discovering that there might be drugs coming out of Colombia? We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, well, according to the Trump administration, Colombia is not doing enough to crack down on the drug trade in their country, and that is leading to drug overdose deaths in the United States. But is there any truth to that claim? Well, to find out, we have to talk to you about coca, and that is the raw material used to make cocaine. So coca cultivation in Colombia grew 10% to 625,000 acres between 2022 and 2023, while potential production, the UN's estimate of the maximum amount of cocaine that could be produced from coca crops, surged over those 2 same years by 53% to 2,644 metric tons. And the amount of land dedicated to cultivating coca, the base ingredient for cocaine, has almost tripled in the past decade to a record 253,000 hectares in 2023, according to the latest report available from the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. So per the New York Times, most of the cocaine produced in Colombia actually ends up in either the US or Europe. Meanwhile, Colombia has defended its efforts to fight the drug trade. The New York Times reported that from January 1st to early September, compared with the same period last year, seizures of cocaine were up 8%, and the number of drug labs destroyed up by 21%. Additionally, 3,200 members of criminal groups were captured or killed, a 17% increase. So the Trump administration has already taken action against Colombia. In September, the US government revoked Petro's visa and decertified Colombia as a drug control partner. And in October, the Trump administration ended US aid to Colombia, and Trump himself called Petro an illegal drug dealer. And Petro has taken his fair shots of Trump at Trump. He refused to accept 2 deportation flights from the US, but he later backed down after Trump threatened tariffs and visa restrictions. Petro also stated that because of Trump's involvement with the Israeli government and its genocide in Gaza, Trump should be in prison and the US Army should turn its back on him. And as we mentioned, Petro has insisted his country is fighting the drug trade, but Petro is also on the record stating that cocaine should be legalized. He claimed that it's not worse than whiskey. By contrast, Petro pointed out that fentanyl, a contributor to the opioid crisis in the United States, is killing Americans, but it's not made in Colombia. Fentanyl was created as a pharmacy drug by North American multinationals, and those who used it became addicted, he said. But keep in mind that with all of this back and forth, it could all just be for show. Why? Because Petro is term limited and Colombia will hold new elections next year. So by next summer, Petro might just be out of Colombian government altogether. So like, what is it all for? Trump just needs to kind of grandstand right now, but there is a possibility that he could be overplaying his hand with his MAGA base, because here he is, he just won his FIFA Peace Prize, whatever that was, right, Cenk? So like, now he's threatening to invade all these countries. His people could be turning on him. What do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, at least now we have a country that actually does have a significant drug trade. Before talking about Venezuela, still talking about Venezuela. And part of the reason why this is around is because Petro resisted the call to help in toppling the Venezuelan government. Venezuela barely has any drugs. It's a tiny amount of drugs coming out of there, no fentanyl. Colombia also doesn't have fentanyl, but Colombia has a significant amount of cocaine. Okay, and that's why he's talking about legalizing cocaine. Now, the reason that would help Colombia is one, that's a big export for them. Now, whether we want to do that is a totally different story, right? But also would legalize the trade so that it reduces the cartel violence, because then it becomes just a legal industry. So, but that's their business, not our business. So did we just discovered that Colombia is producing a lot of cocaine? No, we've known that forever. You got the Cali cartel, Medellin, you got Pablo Escobar, you got this. Everybody knows that Colombia has been producing a ton of cocaine for a long time, but we've never threatened to invade them before. Why? Well, two reasons. One, they didn't insult Trump, so I guess feelings. Number two is, more importantly, although I don't think this is the biggest factor, I actually do think Trump feeling insulted is in this. That's why we're not really going to go to war with Colombia, because Trump can huff and puff, but he's got to have more of the government backing him to go to war. But the second factor is left wing versus right wing. When there were right wing leaders in Colombia who were definitely helping the drug trade, we're like, oh, it's good, we're good. They work with the CIA, and the CIA in Colombia ran drugs together. So we had no problem with their drug trade. We often aided and assisted as long as it was a right wing government who's helping us steal resources from Colombia and do whatever other dirty tactics we were doing in that region. Now it's a left-wing government, and it believes in protecting its own people and not doing dirty deals with us, and they're like, oh, this is outrageous. No, we need someone who's in favor of the drug trade, likes to work with cartels and the CIA back in office in Colombia. So oftentimes the US government, including today and in this case, will tell you the exact opposite of what they actually mean. They've been working with those guys for a long, long time. Now all of a sudden they got a left winger in there who's trying to do the right thing. They're like, boo. Well, so that's part of why we have these hostilities. And it's also, and of course, a couple other small factors here. Well, I think they're small. Number one, Petro also spoke out against, here we go, you know what's coming, Israel. And he said when he was at the United Nations that maybe we should start a world army to go protect the Palestinians from the genocide of Israel. And Israel's like, that's it, Petro's gone, that's it. He's slightly insulted Trump and the grave mistake of insulting Israel. So that's another reason why, but that's probably one of the smaller reasons in this context. And Yaz is right, Trump is now threatening multiple wars in Latin America alone or South America alone. So let alone the bombing of Iran, let alone the fact that we don't have peace in Gaza or Ukraine. This ceasefire is totally fake. Israel's killed 350 people since, is constantly attacking, etc. And then on a lighter note, maybe Trump thought Petro, well, that's the beginning of petroleum. So maybe another reason to go. Well, but that's obviously a joke because Trump doesn't know the word petroleum.
Yeah, Trump wants those petrodollars. That's all he hears when he hears the name. But it seems clear that, yeah, like MAGA is in a bit of an identity crisis right now. Just a very obvious example is they're trying to rebrand the Department of Defense as the Department of War, but at the same time, Trump is the guy that they elected on an anti-war platform. He said he wasn't going to do imperialistic takeovers of other countries. He wasn't going to invade other countries. He was the America First president. And then as soon as he hasn't even been in there for a year and he's already threatened, I mean, not even like those Middle Eastern countries, not even the South American countries. He's threatened Canada. He said he wanted to take over Canada. He said he wanted to take over Greenland. So all he's done, not all he's done, but a lot of what he's done since he's been in office is threaten foreign countries. And he's trying to bully them into submission, into getting them to do what he wants. And that's, on top of the tariffs that he has already imposed on the entire planet. So he is trying to bully people. He's trying to come across as this big negotiator, but it hasn't worked. And the American people, including his own supporters, aren't really falling for it because there's only so much cognitive dissonance that somebody can tolerate, right? You can hear Trump telling people the economy is great, you're doing fine, but then you can see people, putting their groceries on credit cards and racking up their debt on, buy now, pay later schemes, all these things that they're seeing with their own lived experience. And Trump is saying that's not the truth. They're seeing that Trump, the guy who said that he was going to prioritize the United States and our citizens, they're seeing him continue to send money to places like Israel, to continue to focus on places like Venezuela, even going so far as to float the idea of regime change in Venezuela, and now just like threatening Colombia because the leader there has a big mouth and he won't stop talking about Trump, and Trump doesn't like him. So, he has to play this balance between being that tough guy, because that is the image that he's built, and while also pretending to prioritize the American interest, because he's getting very frustrated that his own supporters even are not buying the rhetoric that he's putting out anymore.
Yeah, so super last thing is, I took a lot of heat from some portions of the left for being open to Trump voters and saying, hey, attack Trump and the politicians, but don't attack the voters. And let's be open-minded, and a lot of these folks are independents and voted for Bernie, and people are like, boo, no, they all suck. So now opinions are a little bit more mixed on that issue, and folks are beginning to realize, oh yeah, look, there's a whole bunch of guys who voted for Trump who are like, wait, we didn't say war with Venezuela, are you nuts? Right? So I appreciate those guys, and way to stick to your principles. You don't have to agree with us. You were anti-war to begin with. And so it doesn't take much to go, wait, I was anti-war yesterday, I'll be anti-war today. Is there a big portion of MAGA though that is going with Daddy Trump? They're like, yeah, we meant pro-war, of course, of course. If Daddy Trump says war, then we should go to war. Yeah, of course, there's a big contingent of that as well. And for those guys, come on, brothers and sisters, really? Now you're pro-war? Just because Daddy Trump said so? So that ExxonMobil can get oil for Venezuela's oil? It doesn't affect us at all. We pay the same price. So now you want Trump to work for his donors and to start another war. Did you even hear anything that came out of your own mouth back then? Right? So look, but you know what? Before, you remember, Yaz, during the Iraq war, you might barely remember, but I covered it and I remember. A huge percentage of the country, not just Republicans, nearly 70% were in favor because they thought Saddam Hussein had personally attacked us. It was a giant, giant lie. And now nearly 0% are in favor of the Iraq war. So even if you think, oh, it's a great idea, I'm now pro-war, trust me, 10 years from now, you'll be saying, I didn't want that war. Now, of course, that was a terrible idea. So just get there now and oppose the war, and let's not go in and get ourselves killed and cost ourselves all this kind of money for no reason other than making the donor class happy.
Yeah, no, I do remember. I was very young when 9/11 happened and when we invaded Iraq, but I do remember paying enough attention and being like, being very confused as to why anybody was supporting it, because like Iraq, Saddam Hussein, they didn't attack us, right? It was very obvious. And my conclusion, even at the time, and I still believe this, is that the American people are so, I shouldn't say the American people in general, but the people who believed it and supported it, didn't really understand the difference between all those countries over in the Middle East, right? They kind of saw it as a monolith. And I wonder if something similar is happening now, because they are really just using the same playbook, saying, oh, those are the people who are actually hurting us. It doesn't matter if they actually are the ones, but if that's what the government's saying, they're saying they have weapons of mass destruction somewhere. Just trust us, just trust me, bro, they're there. And then the American people, for some kind of fear of whatever, even if it's fear of losing power on the world stage, perceived power, then they will support it. And it is interesting because especially in 2001 and 2003, whenever we invaded, there was a lot of where the weapons of mass destruction, and we now, years later, decades later, have said, you know what, that was all a mistake. That was all a huge mistake, which should have been obvious from the beginning. But there was this whole rhetoric for a while about that was a mistake. And now here we are just a few years later about to do the exact same thing, using the exact same words, the exact same justifications, the exact same rhetoric, like all of it. It's so tedious. And yeah, like just get there faster. But they're not, because they want the war, because people are gonna make money off of it, so.
All right, when we return, Democrats actually stand up to Republicans effectively. No, most shocking breaking news of all time when we come back. All right, lots of fun comments. Let's go to first tyt.com. EM Itib Ture says, it sounds like she just mirrored the BS justification that came from the administration for deporting Garcia in the first place. Every freaking thing these appointees spew from their mouth, placing the blame on others, is exactly what this a-holes are doing on a daily basis. That's obviously about the Garcia story. Embedded Dude says, nobody's talking about Epstein lately. Didn't Congress pass a resolution to release the files weeks ago? I guess Trump and Johnson's diversion plan is working. Yeah, but it only worked for some period of time. And they're pretending that they're doing the redactions now, when in reality, we reported to you guys that they had spent thousands of hours of overtime already doing the redactions back in March. So they're already done. So yeah, they're lying. Yeah, they'll stall for a little bit longer. Yeah, they'll try to redact more. And then at some point, their hand will be forced, I believe. So let's see how it turns out. Nerd Ferguson says, Schumer's like the Charlie Brown teacher. A whole lot of talking, but I don't process or understand a single word. A complete word slop. That's how almost all the Democratic leaders are. Because if they were honest with you guys and they were straightforward, they would speak clearly and tell you that they were going to fight for your principles and the ones that they pretended to run on. But since they're actually going to do what the donors want, they have to go. So you're like, oh, what? I think that he's on my side, but I couldn't quite tell. Both the voter and the donor says that. And then of course, Chuck goes to the donor and goes, oh, don't worry, I'm 1,000,000,000% on your side. Donor's like, good job, boom, pats him on the ass, and he gets back out there and goes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's my interpretation. Mark NYC says, JFK took total responsibility for the Bay of Pigs fiasco. How many Republicans will take responsibility for Venezuela, whichever way it unfolds? 0, of course. Kennedy was a man. He stood up to powerful interest, and then they killed him. So it doesn't get any braver than that. So that book, Profiles in Courage, exactly right. That kind of courage hasn't been seen in DC in a long, long time. I mean, those are the old school Democrats, Lyndon Johnson, JFK, FDR. They had sets on them. They weren't like Schumer and all these pathetic Hakeem Jeffries, like trying to figure out, has it dropped yet? Has it dropped yet? God, they're so pathetically weak. It's just, it's like bothersome to look at them with their nonstop drivel in favor of their donors. Anyway, Justin Pendergrass says, also look into the rare earth mineral coltan in Venezuela and Trump family ties investments into coltan. I will. Nerd Ferguson says, Don Sr., we're talking about fentanyl. Don Jr., hell yeah. Don Sr. says, and the cocaine. Don Jr., well, let's not get too crazy. Okay. I am Genius writes in, I'm beginning on Twitch, I'm beginning to think Trump didn't actually deserve the FIFA Peace Prize. That's funny. Green New Dealer Dragon says, Latin America is turning into the Middle East, won't create millions of refugees at our walls or anything. It's not like people can just walk here from South America. Oh, totally, we're gonna get way more immigrants. And then they could go, where did the immigrants come from? Electric Snow says, what, referring to the yoga revolution, I'd be like, yo, gotta go get them. Back on TYT, Cenk and Yaz with you guys. A couple of quick comments before we go. Super Chat, and we appreciate everybody who supports the show through Super Chat. William Caldwell, 1594 says, don't tell Don Jr. the supply is getting cut off. So yeah, that might prevent the war with Colombia in and of itself. Sean the Plant says, Cenk, you're the bomb. Love your unbiased takes. Who doesn't love Sean the Plant? Okay, so I'm going to turn into carnivore just to avoid eating plants. All right, anyways, last one on YouTube member section, Fido Dragon NB6, it says, Chuck is so washed. Just go away, old man. Wash is a perfect description of Chuck Schumer. All right, Yaz, what's next?
All right, one last story for you guys. Let's roll it.
Madam Secretary, how many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
Oh, is that so? Well, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem claims that she has not deported any citizens or military veterans, but Representative Seth Magaziner brings up 2 instances where DHS has done exactly that. Before we get into the details, Cenk, I know you and Anna covered a similar story earlier this week, so I'd love to get your 2 cents.
Yeah, no, this is different because Democrats effectively stood up to Kristi Noem. That's like the most shocking news you'll hear all month. So you're gonna see a bunch of instances here where Democrats do a fantastic job in hearings. I'm blown away by it, so let's show you.
All right, so the first case that Magaziner brought up involved the deportation of a veteran who was shot twice while serving in the US military in Panama in 1989.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Sejun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old.
All right, so that was one. And the second case that he brings up is that of the wife of Navy combat veteran Jim Brown.
His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation.
So in both of those cases, Noem thanked the veterans for their service to our country and then committed to looking over their cases. I can't say that I'm entirely confident anything will come from that. The reason being, the objective of ICE isn't to get dangerous illegal criminals out of this country. It's to bolster the Trump administration. They know that the majority of people who voted for Trump in 2024 did so because of illegal immigration. They know that a big part of the messaging coming from the Trump campaign was anti-immigrant. So now they have to maintain the image of being tough on immigration. The problem is that the Trump claim that there are gangs of dangerous drug criminals and terrorists running rampant across our country, it turns out wasn't entirely true. So now they've got to at least look like they're being tough on immigration. But even the right wing is taking notice of it. Take a look.
When you have this clumsy, kind of somewhat insane, over the top deportations, people are looking at this and going, it's unserious. It's unserious, it's childish, it's cruel. I think one of the problems with whatever the MAGA movement has evolved into is it's duped their hardcore followers so much that the only thing left now is performative cruelty.
So of course we know now that about a third of the people arrested by ICE had no criminal record at all, and that's nearly 75,000 people. And the people who voted for Trump in 2024 did so because they were told that these immigrants were dangerous, violent criminals, and they wanted those dangerous, violent people gone. Even those voters did not ask for non-violent, non-criminal immigrants who came here legally to be targeted this way. So Cenk, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I'll tell you why it's happening, and then shockingly, Nick Fuentes is also going to agree. And he's going to make a similar point to Dylan. So I'll come back to that in a second. First, they're deporting about 840 people a day so far this year. But in order to break Obama's record, they have to do 3,000 a day. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen. It's already too late. But Stephen Miller put a ton of pressure on them to do that because he wanted Trump to be the deporter in chief, not Obama. And so there's a lot of ironies in that statement. But since they can't make it, and since they can't square two different things at the same time, they're gonna have to do something else instead. What do I mean by the two different things? Well, you can't make both your base and the general population happy here because they're in conflict. The base wants mass deportations, and they're not unclear about that. And that is a significant chunk of Republican voters. But the general population in America does not want mass deportations, and they wanted the border closed. Trump did give him that. That's why he was popular in the beginning with that. They do want undocumented criminal folks to be taken out of the country, and that was popular, and Trump did do that in the beginning. But now when they got to mass deportations, they lost Rogan, Dylan, everyone, all the independent podcasters, independent media. But most importantly, they lost the independent voters. And so now all of a sudden Trump is polling badly in immigration because he's gone way too far. So since he can't get good polling on this and make his base happy at the same time, instead he's doing this switcheroo, this 3-card Monty that Dylan is talking about. So, well, I can't give you the amount of deportations you want, so I'll give you performative cruelty instead. Shockingly, even Nick Fuentes acknowledges that and recognizes that. Watch.
So I do think it's performative. And what I mean by that is, when they're doing the deportations, they know the deportations are not where the base wants them to be. They deported, the figures are disputed, but from my data, it's 300,000 in the year, which is not a massive deportation. They know the base is unhappy with that. So what do? The deportations that they are carrying out, they do a big spectacle and they arrest everybody and they film it and they put a hype at it. And there's a meanness in there. They played that song, I think from Sabrina Carpenter or something, and they make it a joke, they make it glib, and they do that because they're not delivering on the promise, so they compensate by doing it meaner, edgier, more mean-spirited, so that the base will overlook the fact that it's not happening. And I think that's by definition performative cruelty. You can call me a hypocrite, but it's definitely true about what they're doing in the administration.
Yeah, I show you guys that because not because we agree with Fuentes. Fuentes wants mass deportation. I'm on the left, I don't want it. Dylan's an independent, he doesn't want it. Fuentes does want it, but we all agree that we have eyes and ears. And whether you want the mass deportation or not, that's not exactly this. This is performative cruelty to try to trick you into thinking mission accomplished. And now all the way back to the Democrats effectively challenging Noem. I mean, here's veterans with like microscopic infractions that took bullets for this country being deported. What is that? I mean, so I think that the administration is misreading this. Number one, they're getting caught by their own side. We see you. This isn't really mass deportations. I mean, I think it to me qualifies, but it doesn't qualify for his base. And you're not tricking us with the performative cruelty. And no one asked you to deport veterans who took bullets for this country. So it went very poorly for Noem there, and surprisingly good grilling by the Democrats.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that's kind of happening now. We're not even a year into this Trump administration, but a lot of his old tricks he's learning are not working as well as they did the first time around, because there's only so much you can say to people before they're like, you know what, this isn't even what we asked for. He promised America first on a lot of things. He promised less involvement in places like Israel. His own base does not like the things that he is doing, and they're asking him to stop. And now they're realizing that he's not even listening to us. It's not just like he's trying to stick it to the libs or to the left. He's not even listening to us. We're his people, and he's not helping us the way that he said that he wanted to help us. So there's a lot of disconnect, I think, now between this Trump administration and the Trump voters that is much more just more tangibly felt than it was during his first administration. They're seeing the things that he's doing. They're asking him to stop doing it. They're asking him for help. Even just recently, he did a rally where he was touting how good the economy is doing, and his own supporters turned up to that rally with signs saying, we want higher wages and we want lower prices. And that is not what he offered them, and that is not what he is offering them. And even if he does manage to somehow manage grocery prices right now, it'll only be to compensate for the fact that he inflated them in the first place with a lot of his tariffs and a lot of his economic policies. Even his old trick of trying to blame the last guy for the bad economy is not working, because as soon as he got into office, he enacted several very, very strong economic measures. And so it's very hard to separate him and this economy from, it's very hard to separate this economy from his administration and from him specifically. So hopefully this will continue.
All right. So, first of all, Yaz, you're awesome. Thank you. We appreciate you. Everybody check out Rebel HQ, where you'll find Yaz. That's on YouTube. It's on tyt.com and all of our platforms. Okay, now when we come back, Randy finds out it again, but now he's asking for mass extermination of not just Palestinians, but all mainstream Muslims. And obviously, Congress and national media is in an uproar over it. Oh, wait, I'm hearing, no, they don't give a crap at all. So we're gonna show you those shocking comments and the shocking indifference that this country has to actual bigotry when we return. Hey Andrew, what's up?
Hey Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang, of course I have good service.
All right, let's try it. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait, should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is gonna save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm gonna do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The two buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was gonna be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that, here you go, phone, yeah.
What the f? Cenk, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mobile.
It was really just one take. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoe. It's in my shoes. Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor, or concern for whose toes we might step on, or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
Favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says,
You have to listen to the Young Turks.
All the people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning. They seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you, guys.
America!
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys. All right, Jordan Ewell, I should say. I should say your full name since you're just joining us. Okay. Also, Insurgent Podcast, check that out. All right, Jordan, we start with a bit of a devastating story. Let's see how I react to it. It'll be interesting. But let us know what it is.
Well, let's start by taking a look at this.
I'll say something that really the president of Egypt first said, al-Sisi. He said there needs to be a reformation of Islam. A reformation of Islam which accepts Israel as a Jewish state, which no longer promotes violence and terrorism, which so many of the imams promote, and nobody wants to talk about. They're afraid of being called Islamophobic.
I'm not afraid of that. I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
During a congressional hearing earlier this week, Representative Randy Fine suggested yet again that mainstream Muslims should be destroyed, after openly admitting he's okay with being called Islamophobic. And we'll get into more momentarily, but Cenk, before we jump in, your 2 cents.
Yeah, first I just want to reverse what that brother who was apparently having issues staying in human form was saying. So there needs to be a reformation of Judaism so that Jewish people don't promote violence and terrorism like Israel's been doing. And since they're seeking the destruction of the Palestinians, we should obviously destroy Israel first. Now, if he had actually said that, all I'm doing is substituting Jewish and Israeli for Muslim and Palestinian. Obviously, he would have been immediately censured. He would have been fired from his job. Might have even been arrested these days. But you say it about Muslims, no one even notices. And what's important, guys, is you're going to see in this story is when asked to clarify if Randy Fine really meant all Muslims, he basically said yes, as you're going to see. And I'm amazed by the reaction. I shouldn't be amazed at this late date, but we'll show you the reaction as well, which, spoiler alert, not much.
Yeah. Well, on Tuesday, the House Foreign Affairs, Middle East and North Africa Subcommittee held a hearing titled Understanding Judea and Samaria, Historical, Strategic, and Political Dynamics in U.S.-Israel Relations. And this is how self-proclaimed Islamophobe Randy Fine decided to start his 5 minutes.
In 1948, 2 states were created as the British left that part of the world. There was an Arab state in Jordan, and there was a Jewish state in Israel. But the Arabs could not be content with those 2 states. They decided they wanted to have one. And a war broke out, a war that has gone and starts and stops ever since. Now, rather than call themselves Jordanians, they invented a new name, the name of Palestinians, to try to imply a 3rd state should be created. And in 1967, that war that started in 1948 continued, and Israel won territory back from the Jordanians. Now, in the United States, when we fought wars and we have won territory, we generally keep it. And that's typically the way the world works. But somehow when it comes to Israel, and it comes to the Jews, when they win a war that they don't start, somehow it is they are supposed to give back the land that they have thus won.
Now, Fine went on to argue that a 3-state solution has already been tested with the gracious creation of Gaza.
But nonetheless, Israel has gone along with this fiction and tried to create not a 2nd state, but a 3rd state. It was tried in 2005 in Gaza, when not only did Israel make Gaza Judenrein, they not only removed every living Jew from Gaza, they dug up dead Jews to take them away. And they said, here you go, Gaza, enjoy your border with Egypt, enjoy your access to the ocean, go live long, prosper, turn yourself into a Dubai or a UAE. And we saw how that worked out. Water pipes, instead of being used to make water, were turned into rockets. Concrete, instead of being used to create schools, were turned into tunnels. So despite the fact there effectively was a third state, the state of Gaza, we saw how that turned out.
And of course, we know that's bogus. But if all of that wasn't enough, Fine went on to argue there is apartheid in Israel, but it's being imposed on them. And Jews are banned from the West Bank. Take a look.
We hear about the apartheid state of Israel, and it is partly true. There is apartheid in Israel. I want to tell you, as I was driving through Judea and Samaria, a sign that I saw, I can't find it real quick, but it basically said, in this area, Jews may not enter. This is a part of the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, whatever you want to call it. And the sign literally says in English, in Hebrew, and in Arabic, Jews may not go here. I'm not aware of anywhere that is controlled by Israel where they say Arabs cannot go, where they say Christians cannot go. So my question, I guess, to you, Mr. Klein, is when you are dealing with a group of people who continually call for the destruction of the state of Israel, who are okay with signs that say Jews may not enter these areas, we want to be free of Jews, how do you make peace with that? How do you create a long-term solution with that? Or is there another way that we have to go?
So we'll get into a full breakdown of all of this, but let's see how Mr. Morton Klein, the president of the Zionist Organization of America, how he responded. And he has called for the profiling of Muslims in the U.S. Take a look.
The reason Jews are not permitted to go there is because there's a huge likelihood that they'll be murdered by Arabs who live there. Arabs can walk anywhere they want. There's no problem, no danger.
Wow, no danger. That's news to the rest of the world. But let's take a look at these actual signs. This road leads to Area A under the Palestinian Authority. The entrance for Israeli citizens is forbidden, dangerous to your lives, and is against the Israeli law. Now, these signs were erected by the IDF around the Second Intifada to warn Israeli settlers against entering these areas for safety concerns, even though the settlers are the ones wreaking havoc on Palestinian villages. We've seen video after video, story after story for years of the violence they are inflicting. But another thing to note, where does it say Jews? It doesn't. They're lying. And to really drive it home, an IDF spokesperson even confirmed to the Jerusalem Post earlier this year, the law against entering Palestinian villages in Area A applies to all Israelis, not just Jews like he claims. And obviously the law isn't even really being enforced, going back to the settler violence. Now, to Klein's point about Palestinians being able to walk wherever they want, does he not know the reality of the yellow line? Sometimes the yellow line is marked by concrete blocks or metal pipes stuck in the ground, and sometimes there is no physical marking at all. An activist with a local rescue organization told Haaretz, especially around the eastern villages, the land is open and abandoned, and residents do not know where they are allowed to walk and where a hidden rifle is aimed at them. Fadi Abu Asi, 10, and his brother Juma, 12, died not far from their temporary home in the town of Bani Suela in the southern Gaza Strip. It happened in an open area that was once used for agriculture, where children used to chase goats or simply play. Now the area is called the Yellow Line, and the Israel Defense Forces applies a shoot first, ask questions later policy there. Now, these two kids were allegedly over the Yellow Line while collecting wood and were gunned down by an Israeli drone. But obviously, Islamophobe Randy Fine and Morton Klein don't care about any of that. Randy Fine even highlighted his destroy them first quip on X. He's proud of it, Jank. What do you make of this interaction, this idea that Gaza is some luxurious third state for Palestinians, and that really this idea of apartheid is ultimately to the detriment of Israelis.
Okay, so Fine and Klein are gigantic liars. They're propagandists for Israel who want to trick Americans into sending tens of billions of dollars to their beloved Israel, which they actually serve. They're both genocidal freaks. So let's break down their lies one by one. Jordan already did a lot of it, but let me address some of the most egregious ones. So not only can you not go past the yellow line, Klein said there is no place in Israel or in anywhere in the occupied territories where Arabs couldn't go. What a comical lie. What a preposterous lie. The only reason you would say something like that is if you think I own this place and so no one will be able to counter my lies and I'll just be able to say them. No, there's tons of places you can't go if you're Arab in Israel. There's nothing but walls and barriers, and it takes forever to get anywhere because you need permission from the Israelis to go anywhere in the occupied territories, let alone inside Israel. I mean, everyone knows that. If you're watching that from Israel, you have to be thinking, that's amazing. Our guys get to lie in American Congress in the most outrageous ways. We own the place, no one even challenges them, right? So, and that's that's already the state of affairs for 58 brutal years under this occupation. But on top of that, they added the yellow lines where if you cross a yellow line, which is often not in the real world, you have to go on the internet, and they don't have most of the kids there, they don't have cell phones. Are you insane? So they don't even know where the frickin' line is. The minute they cross it, Israel murders them, murders children, women, it doesn't matter. Remember, earlier they had kill zones. Remember when they killed the 4 Israeli hostages that had escaped? And their answer was like, well, dude, they were in a kill zone. We didn't know they were Israelis and were precious human beings. We thought they were just Muslims, so we massacred them like we always do. I mean, they have areas called kill zones. And these 2 giant, disgusting liars are going, Arabs can go anywhere in Israel. No, the poor Israeli Jews, they're the ones that are put upon in Israel. I mean, they have no shame at all. Who put up the sign? The Israelis put up the sign. And Randy Fine is like, they won't even let Jews go there. Who's they? It's you idiot. That's your own government. And yes, Randy Fine's not an American. He's just an Israeli agent inside of America, a disgusting genocidal pig who works for a different country who says we should murder all Muslims. Because okay, so I got more to break down, but let's go back to that tweet because I don't want you to miss this and understand why, among the many reasons why I'm so mad at Randy Fine. Look at Representative Fine on how to deal with mainstream Muslims. He's tweeting this. And he doesn't clarify Palestine. Even if he said in Palestine or in Gaza, it would already be like the equivalent of Goebbels and Hitler. But he's not saying that. He's saying murder them all, mainstream Muslims everywhere. He says, quote, I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. I think you destroy them first. And 3 fire emojis so you understand. No, I mean burn them alive, like when Israel drops 2,000-pound bombs or any bombs, and we light their children on fire. And Randy Fine's like, yes, murder, murder, murder. On behalf of Americans, pay for the murder. You owe Israel. Pay for us to murder their children. And now he's saying mainstream Muslims overall. So I guess he wants me murdered. What a sick, disgusting terrorist that's in our Congress. And he's stealing your money every single day. Give money to Israel, give money. 31 billion in the middle of a genocide. We haven't murdered enough Palestinian kids. I want to murder all the Muslims, Randy Fine says. He literally says it, he literally says it. So look, I keep break down every single lie they said, all this ridiculous made up history. 3 states, what the hell is he talking about? The Arabs wouldn't accept that we took half their land and then all of their land. And of course, we won them in wars. So you're admitting, yeah, you attacked them, you murdered them, and you stole their land. Thank you for the confession, you terrorist sick pig, okay? And then what's amazing is the reaction, Jordan. None. There's been no reaction. That story's not on cable news. No one in traditional media is talking about it. If a mainstream, if any congressperson, forget Rashida Tlaib, forget anyone has written how to deal with mainstream Jews I don't know how you make peace with those seeking your destruction. That Israel literally seeks the destruction of the people of Gaza. Randy Fine is saying that he loves the idea of destruction of the people of Gaza, and not only that, the destruction of all Muslims. Anyway, if they said about mainstream Jews, I don't know how you make peace with those who seek your destruction. You destroy the Jews first. What would have happened? Everybody would have freaked out, rightfully so. Are you kidding me? That's an outrageous, atrocious thing to say. But apparently, if you say it about Jews, maybe if you say it about Christians, that's a huge, huge problem. You say it about Muslims, and everyone on cable news, everyone in the New York Times, everyone in the Washington Post, every so-called reporter, every sick, disgusting politician in Washington is like, oh, no big deal. Oh yeah, one of our guys says, one of the guys says America owes Israel a genocide, 8 genocides, 12 genocides. We should get to murder all the Muslims, and I'm not bothered by it. Yeah, that's okay. Randy Fine, yeah. Make Americans to pay for all the murder of mainstream Muslims. So, okay, who runs this place? This is a joke. This is the most obvious thing in the world. Who runs this place? If, like, there's this hilarious propaganda that they're putting out there now. Oh, and one of their, we'll do this story another time, but one of their so-called influencers put out a video about, well, it's getting hard to get Americans to just support Israel for Israel's sake because there's no need to, there's no reason to at all. So she's like, so what we're doing is now we're making them hate Muslims and realize that they should pay for us to kill Muslims. But there's no consequences ever. If you said it about Jews, you said it about Israel, there would be massive consequences, right? So obviously, Israel runs Congress. Israel runs cable news. It's super obvious. And now that with that propaganda of, oh no, the real problem is the Muslims. Oh, you should hate the Muslims, right? And they layer on top of that, Muslims are trying to take over America. Are you kidding me? If Muslims were taking over America, would we allow Randy Fine to say we should murder all Muslims? No. You know why Randy Fine can say that? There's not a single consequence. It's because Muslims have zero power in America, zero. Whereas Israel supporting radical terrorists have enormous power, enormous power. If you haven't condemned Randy Fine, you're a monster if you work in media or politics. You're a dentist, that's not your problem, okay? But so Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, where are you guys? You love this terrorist pig, don't you? You love that he's calling for a genocide of me and all mainstream Muslims. You don't mind it at all. It didn't even cross your radar. You're like, yeah, Tuesday, so what? So what? Did you say something about Israel, you anti-Semite? Let's have congressional hearings. Come on. So you could call me any names you like. Go ahead. Put me on any list you like. But I'm done with all the lies on behalf of Israel. They donate to 90% of Congress. That 90% of Congress votes for Israel 100% of the time. We are in occupied territory. America does not control its own government anymore. They allow monstrous terrorists like Randy Fine to run roughshod in our Congress. What are we doing a hearing about Judea and Samaria? That is the equivalent of saying from the river to the sea. That's saying the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are part of greater Israel. They're part of Judea and Samaria. So if you call them Judea and Samaria, that means you think that the Israelis have a right to that place. So they should drive out 5.5 million Palestinians, an even bigger ethnic cleansing than what they just did in Gaza, to be able to steal that land. And they're having hearings about it. They literally call it Judea and Samaria hearings. So they're like, our Congress, completely and utterly controlled by Israel, is now rubbing it in Muslim Americans' faces. You know, this idea that we sold you that this is America and there's a constitution and you're all equal. We were kidding. Israel runs the place. If you're Muslim, we're gonna talk about how you should all be murdered and nobody's gonna give a damn. They're gonna greet it with thunderous applause. But if you dare say one thing about our beloved Israel, that's it, we're gonna destroy your reputation. I'm sick of these liars who work for a different country. If Randy Fine gets reelected, we should all be embarrassed about this country. That's voters saying, yeah, everyone should bow their heads and no one should work for America. You should all work for Israel and for the destruction and murder of Muslims. And if you're offended by anything I've said, F you. I'm offended by you. I'm offended by you not being irate over Randy Fine. Look, again, guys, I'm not talking about real people, okay? I'm not talking about the average guy. The average guy, Republican, Democrat, etc., are good people, moral people, and they don't want this. They don't want this on their conscience. They don't want this as a moral stand on America, and they certainly don't want to pay for it. I'm talking about the most disgusting people in the country, which is almost everyone who works in national media and almost every politician in Washington. They all serve Israel, they're all disgusting, and they all support the terrorism of Israel and the robbing of America on behalf of Israel. And now apparently none of them mind the mass murder of mainstream Muslims in America and throughout the world. So the next time they talked about anti-Semitism and bigotry, understand they're giant liars. They don't care about bigotry at all. If you talk about bigotry about Muslims, they love it. They love that bigotry. They don't care at all. They haven't objected to Randy Fine at all, okay? They only care if you talk about my people are important, they say. Your people are useless and should be slaughtered. Well, okay, then F you back. Then F you back. And don't tell me that you're offended. I don't give a goddamn that you're offended. Good, I want you to be offended. You might feel 1% of what a Muslim American feels every time every son of a bitch on cable news and every son of a bitch in Congress goes, oh, killing Muslims, that's awesome. Hey, Harry, Sally, Bob, Susie in America, give me your wallets, give me your wallets. Israel needs to murder more Muslims and take more land. And talk about in Congress how we should murder them all. They're all sick, disgusting hypocrites. When they say anti-Semitism, understand they don't give a damn about bigotry, not 1%. All they care about is protect beloved Israel. Israel is above all. Bow down, America, bow down, Muslims. All of cable, all of media, all of Congress. I hope that was clear enough.
Yeah, I think I followed. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
I was going to tell you guys, hey, I didn't want to get upset in that story, and it turns out I couldn't help it. And I was going to apologize to you guys for getting, worked up about it, but I'm not going to. Why do I have to apologize for being against my own genocide? Like, we have this sick, disgusting media system in America where if you criticize people doing a genocide, you're a terrible person and everyone should hate you and your life should be smeared and ruined, etc. But if you dare say, hey, maybe my people matter, our lives matter, maybe we shouldn't all be murdered, they're like, oh, you're getting all emotional. Why don't you apologize? No. All right. All right, Fraley XP on Super Chat, I'm reading blind. So proud of my Indiana senators who voted down the new map. Hoosiers don't cheat and don't negotiate with terrorists. Trump blocks federal funding. Can I stop paying federal taxes afterwards? Yeah, great point. You know what? Credit to the Republicans in Indiana. Because they stood their ground and they did it on principle and they wouldn't gerrymander the way that Trump wanted. That is shocking principle. So I hope it's a good note for the beginning of détente on gerrymandering and disarmament on both sides and actually end the scourge of gerrymandering in this country. Constantine Kaviris writes in, I don't think anyone can accuse Cenk of holding back how he feels, and that's part of what makes me a TYT viewer. Thank you for never holding back, Cenk. Thank you, Constantine. I appreciate you, but a lot of people get annoyed. They're like, oh no, what are you so upset about? Just be calm. Oh, he just wants to murder you, and no one in power cares. No one cares at all. But if you criticize Israel, then they care super much. Like guys, what you don't know is behind the scenes, pro-Israel folks are attacking this business in 2,000 different ways. So they're trying to make sure that no one can work here, etc. They want to try to ruin all of our lives because we didn't consent to having all Muslims massacred by their effing beloved Israel, okay? Anyone who's still supporting what Israel has done in Gaza, what they're doing in the West Bank, what they're doing, attacking all of their neighbors super aggressively like a disgusting terrorist imperial empire. If you're still supporting that, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You want me to worry about your stupid feelings? You're like, yay, rah, rah, genocide. But you have to care about my feelings. No, stop murdering people. Stop being in favor of murdering people. And then I might begin to give a goddamn about your stupid feelings. Okay, I hope that's clear enough. And Liberty and Guns We Trust says, I've been watching TYT since 2016. I don't agree with everything, but I've always respected Cenk's perspective from the left. I'm glad that we have a TYT at this time in human history. It's needed. Thank you, brother, appreciate you. Mr. Polybius says, have hope, no way this arc Tucker is on ends with less than whistleblowers exposing oligarchs that have enslaved the world. The left needs to be ready for their speaker to be president if Trump and JD get impeached after the midterms. I like your optimism, but there's no way they're getting impeached. There's no way the speaker's gonna take over. No, Israel's gonna continue ruling this country. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan. Jordan, more news.
Take a look at this.
What you very clearly saw in that video was Mubashir, an American citizen, tackled, handcuffed, taken into custody for no reason at all, in clear violation of law and the Constitution of the United States, for simply walking down the street and looking like he's Somali.
That was Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey condemning ICE's brutal assault of a Somali-American U.S. citizen who did absolutely nothing wrong. We'll get into the details and even hear a police chief apologize directly to the man. But first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
All this because Donald Trump felt insulted by Ilhan Omar. So now he's going on a rampage against Somali Americans, American citizens. Now, there's one other wrinkle to this story that is also devastating. Let's give you the facts and then we'll talk about it.
So 20-year-old Mubashir moved to the United States as a young child and became a naturalized American citizen. There's no indication he has any criminal record. Here's what allegedly happened to him on Tuesday. Mubashir was at his job in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood of Minneapolis, which is home to most of the city's Somali-American community. He left for his lunch break when 2 masked men approached him. One of the men pushed him into a nearby restaurant and shoved him against a wall. Mubashir says the agents didn't identify themselves and that he offered to show his passport multiple times. Nonetheless, they then dragged him out into the snow, where one agent put him into a chokehold. They forcibly arrested him as he was shouting, "I have my ID." The agents put him in an unmarked SUV and drove him to a federal building. The agents took him out of the vehicle and made him stand in the cold unless he consented to a face scan. So he finally did. Mubashir said that they refused his request for water or to warm his hands. Once inside the building, a staff member allowed him to turn on his phone and show his ID. That's when he was finally released. During a joint press conference yesterday, Mubashir spoke out about what happened to him.
What happened to me cannot stay quiet. What happened to me was unjust, uncalled for. All I did was step outside as a Somali American and I just got chased by a masked person. The agent then, at one point, he didn't identify himself. He didn't say, "ICE, stop." Like, I felt like I was getting assaulted. I was getting kidnapped, and that's exactly what it was. And the way they were treating me, it was inhumane.
Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara was also present at the press conference and apologized to Mubashir for what happened.
Like the mayor, I apologize that this happened to you in my city with people wearing vests that say police. That's embarrassing. Random efforts in which individuals who are, including individuals who are American citizens, are being stopped because they appear to be Latino or because they appear to be Somali is wrong.
So far, ICE has yet to respond to requests for comment about the assault, but Mubashir's arrest was the result of a larger DHS campaign. Last week, they announced the start of Operation Metro Surge, an immigration enforcement initiative in Minneapolis and St. Paul to theoretically go after undocumented immigrants and criminals. But Governor Tim Walz told Kristi Noem that multiple U.S. citizens had now been detained or arrested by ICE agents in Minneapolis. The campaign was announced a day after Donald Trump made these vicious comments about Somali Americans.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. And they complain and do nothing but bitch. We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
A few days later, he called Somalia a blank hole country and complained that we were taking immigrants from there rather than Norway or Denmark. Cenk, I wonder what he means by that.
So look, I want to unite to fight against the establishment and corruption and the donor class and get our country back. But God, sometimes the right wing makes it so hard. You guys really agree with that? And I know the answer. Half of them or some percentage of them don't, but half of them definitely agree with that. And so what do you want us to do? Say, oh, okay, you're right. We minorities should be trampled upon. The fact that we're American citizens shouldn't matter. You should target people based on their race or ethnicity and say to agents, oh yeah, go attack Somalis in Minnesota. I don't care if they're Americans or they're not Americans. Who cares? Let's pick them based on their race. And then on top of that, just to be extra clear, say, well, if they were from Denmark or Norway, good white countries, then everything would be fine. But it's a dirty black country, Muslim country, whatever he thinks it is, right? So what do you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you that's fine? It's not fine. It's not fine. And it's also deeply un-American. If you think America is just for white people, you never understood the point of the country. Have you ever read our Constitution? Do you understand what equality means? So if you say, no, well, I'm against equality, I just want people from Denmark and Norway, and I want to attack Somalis, including American citizens, well, you're by definition a racist, and you're by definition not an American. They should kick your ass out of the country. What do you mean, America's for white? What does that mean? What does that mean? Do you believe in the US Constitution that gives us equality, or do you not believe in it? If you don't believe in it, you're just philosophically, ideologically, you're a traitor to this country. I'm not a weirdo like extremist, and that means treason and execution. No, none of that crap. It just means it sucks because I guess you don't really believe in this country. You want to live in a different country where you can attack people based on their race or background or nationality. There are countries like that. Maybe you should go live there because that's not here. When I see an American citizen getting attacked, I don't care where they're from. That's insane. That's disgusting. Great job by the mayor and the cops in that town, by the way, to actually stand up for our citizens, American citizens. And what are we attacking Somalia for? Because poor little Donald Trump got his feelings hurt by Ilhan Omar. What a bitch. What an unbelievable thin-skinned little, okay, we'll use right-wing parlance. Little girl hiding behind his skirt. Oh, Ilhan hurt my feelings. Attack all the Somalis. I don't care if they're Americans. Let's just be outwardly racist. Okay, look, a lot of Trump voters have turned on him. They realize he's not going to do anything for you. He says, does this help you in your daily life? To brutalize American citizens based on race and nationality or ethnicity? Does that help you? Does that make your wages go up? Did that make prices go down? No, it doesn't help you at all. What they're doing, guys, if you're not aware of it, on the right wing, left wings are already good on this. Independents are already good on this. None of us want this crap, right? So if you're on the right wing, you're okay with all these distractions, and be clear, you're okay with culture wars. Because I don't like culture wars, and I don't like identity politics. And Young Turks has proven that for 20 straight years. But you're saying, attacking people based on their identity, starting culture wars. We love that. You do? Okay, so then you're no better than, if you thought the DEI was radical or whatever because you're on the right, and you say, oh my God, that's identity politics, I can't believe that. Now you're saying, no, I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I just want DEI for us. And not only that, I want like extra DEI on steroids, where you not only say we're privileged, but you actively attack Americans based on their race and ethnicity. Supernova DEI, where we assault other races. Again, I hope that is not a 50% of Trump voters. I hope, I don't know what the number is. But there is a significant percentage who look at that and go, yeah, they don't mind that at all. And if you're in that group, you're not, I don't know what you think you are, but you're not in favor of our Constitution, and you're not really American, ideologically, politically, and philosophically.
Yeah, I think it's worrying that this is becoming normal. This is becoming routine. We are hearing about more and more American citizens that are being swept up in this, assaulted, brutalized, with no apology, no adjustments, no corrections, nothing from ICE or DHS. Today, Kristi Noem was in Congress lying that no US citizens have been caught up in this. None have been deported, none have been wrapped up, nothing. Lying. Veterans specifically was where she was on the spot, proven wrong and shown to be lying while under oath. They don't know who they're getting. They say, we're only going after the worst of the worst. No, they're not. Their own data shows that 70% or so of the people in custody have no criminal record. They are just sweeping people up based on their race, based on their skin color. And for those people, well, I hope it gets sorted out, but we've seen time and time again, they don't have all of their paper in order. They don't have all of their files in order. DHS is a mess. It's run by an incompetent lunatic in Kristi Noem, and they only want sensationalism and barbarism on camera to scare people. That's it. Everyone in that administration is okay with it. No one has spoken out. And I haven't seen, maybe I'm wrong, I haven't seen a single congressional Republican condemn this effort. They always make excuses. They always lie and they justify it. And American citizens are getting swept up in this. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and while you're distracted and while we're all distracted fighting over race again and identity again, the great American robbery continues. They gave away $4 trillion in tax cuts for the rich. They deregulated industries. They're allowing massive mergers, but only after they contribute to Donald Trump's Bitcoin. They fired almost all of the people who were prosecuting white collar crime. Why would you fire prosecutors and cops who are going after criminals? Because you like white collar crime. You like our government working only for the donor class. So while we're fighting over this and you're attacking random Somali-Americans who have nothing to do with being the people in power, who are not the people who rigged the rules against all of us, who have nothing to do with the power base that is oppressing all of us. We're all looking over there while they're laughing their ass off at us, robbing the place blind. $38 trillion in debt. Almost all of it went to corporate donors and foreign governments. We got nothing. Do we have lower drug prices? No. Did you fight for lower drug prices? No. Do we have lower housing prices? No, we have higher housing prices. Why? Because the bankers in New York are buying them. And so they're gonna turn us all into renters, and we're all gonna work under corporate rule while you're mad at a random Somali American and you go, Trump's feelings were hurt. So let's all get distracted over there. Terrible idea. This is exactly how you divide the country.
Yeah, gotta take a break.
Let's go to YouTube members. Dakota Jim 2025 said, America has a history of despising immigrants, especially Catholic and darker skinned immigrants. Italians should know this. In America's original sin of slavery, there's a repeat of its history. So guys, yeah, you could love the country and still know what went wrong, so we don't repeat it again. But here we are repeating it again. So if you're on the right and you're like, oh, okay, I know about slavery, I know we did bad things to immigrants, let's get past it. Great, let's get past it. But if we're not past it and we're back to the bad old days, then we have to remind ourselves of that history so we don't forget its lessons. Carol Gosh 3663 says, Trump's behavior will get worse as his dementia progresses. But yeah, look, I'm a little worried about his dementia. He's super old and he didn't have much to work with in the first place. But honestly, so far, none of this looks like dementia. This is the same Trump we've always known. The same a-hole, the same narcissist, the same con man, the same, I mean, he just proved it with the Somalis, the same racist. Okay, if you want to cry over it, cry over the fact that he's literally saying clearly, indisputably racist things. All right, anyway, whatever. Let's all hate each other again and let the establishment win. Okay, Delivery Ghost says, the US have been adjusting the politics of South America for damn near 50 years at this point. We just see this one a little clearer than the cover-ups of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Well, and the reason why the American people didn't see it back then, and you could read about this, the CIA worked with mainstream media back in the day, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And they would tell them to lie to the American people. Oh, the government of Iran is evil, even though it was a democratically elected government and we wanted to steal their oil. And Time Magazine and others would go, oh, evil. All the South American leaders, oh, evil, terrorists, dangerous to us. The mainstream media has been lying to the American people almost since its inception. So, and now we just showed it to you in the beginning of the show. CNN brings on an expert to go, oh no, stealing Venezuelan oil tankers is perfectly normal. Everything is normal. Of course we should invade them and steal all their stuff, normal. So they're doing the same thing they've always done. One of the reasons that I loathe mainstream media. Disrupt Daily says, by the way, I challenged Chris Cuomo to a debate. He said it was BS that they're news actors and they actually work for the powerful and the elite. I said, great, let's debate it. You could do here, you could do it on Piers, you could do it on Patrick Bet-David show. I don't care, let's debate it anywhere, right? Yeah, interestingly, he hasn't taken me up on that. Disrupt Daily says, I don't think the lady that will replace Maduro will be any better. No, that Peace Prize, I mean, they really ruined the Nobel Peace Prize. They gave it to Obama when he literally didn't do anything. And now this lady's a warmonger and they gave her a Nobel Peace Prize to appease the neocons in America. She's like, declare war, we'll give you all our oil. You're not in favor of peace. Get out of here, man. Like the media, I was such a naive kid. I thought they were actually doing news. When I started this company, I thought others were also doing news. I didn't know we'd be the only ones doing news. I didn't know that the rest of the news was just marketing and propaganda for the rich and the powerful. That's why we're besieged at all times, because we're actually trying to give you things that it's the real information, and the rest of the media is like, shut up and serve the rich. Back on TYT, Jake and Jordan with you guys. Jordan, one more story.
Take a look at this.
I just think that the people that have run CNN into the ground, by the way, nobody watches, very few people watch. I don't think they should be entrusted with running CNN any longer. So I think any deal should be guaranteed and certain that CNN is part of it, or sold separately. But I don't think the people that are running that company right now and running CNN, which is a very dishonest group of people, I don't think that should be allowed to continue. I think CNN should be sold along with everything else.
As media behemoths fight for the chance to buy Warner Brothers, Donald Trump interjected to insist that CNN, a subsidiary of Warner, end up under new ownership as well. And that reflects where he and his administration might fall on some of these deals. We've got the details. We've got more of what he has to say. But first, Cenk, your 2 cents.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you guys why he's insisting that CNN be included in the deal. Yeah, of course, we all get he wants CNN to be a lapdog for him, but there's a second reason that's really important that I don't want you to miss. And also, I can prove that what he's saying there makes no earthly sense at all. There can't possibly be a justification for it. So we'll explain that after Jordan gives you the facts.
So it's important to note off the bat that there are 2 competing offers for Warner Brothers Discovery right now. One from Netflix only includes Warner's studio and entertainment properties, but the other from a Trump ally would also include CNN. Paramount owner David Ellison, who's also pursuing WBD, sat the other night in the Kennedy Center's presidential box. The next morning, his company announced a hostile bid at more than $108 billion, arguing against a Netflix tie-up in part on antitrust grounds. And Ellison is trying to leverage his proximity to the president to win over shareholders as Paramount and Netflix jockey for position. Paramount's pitch to shareholders isn't just that its bid is better financially, but that it's more likely to receive regulatory approval than Netflix's offer. Paramount has offered $108 billion to buy all of WBD, including its cable networks. So if Netflix acquires just the entertainment assets, that's an antitrust concern. But if Paramount, who now owns CBS through the Skydance merger and acquisition, if they also buy the entertainment assets and CNN, that's somehow not an antitrust concern. I wonder why that is. And now Trump says he will be involved in this process and wants CNN sold. Take a look.
Well, I'm not involved in that. I will be probably involved, maybe involved in the decision. It depends. You have some good companies bidding on it. I think the people that have run CNN for the last long period of time are a disgrace. I think it's imperative that CNN be sold.
And there are other members of Trump's inner circle and close allies who are involved in Paramount's offer that could give it more leverage here. In a securities filing Monday, Paramount said its outside financing partners include the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Abu Dhabi's Lamad Holding Company, the Qatar Investment Authority, and Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. Cenk, what do you make of this?
Yeah, so first, why does it make no sense at all? Jordan largely explained it there. Guys, the reason you would block any of these mergers is because it would create too large a monopoly, and you don't want too few media companies running that industry. You don't want too few companies running any industry, because then it reduces their need to do price competition and serve the customers, etc. That's why we sometimes block mergers. So the problem is when they're too large. So when Trump says, no, whoever's buying it has to include CNN, it only makes it larger. So it makes no sense to demand that if you're the government that's looking out to make sure the company is not too large. He's not even trying to make sense. So it's just the most irrational thing that anybody's ever heard. Oh, well, we're worried about monopoly, so make sure the company's bigger. What? Okay, so now, why does he want CNN included in the deal? So remember, there's Warner Brothers, and they've split it into two, or potentially gonna split it into two companies. One was the CNN and the cable properties, and the other one that's the streaming company. Netflix only wants the streaming company, and Paramount wants it all. Why? Because this CNN and stuff is, financially speaking, is at this point close to toxic. They have a bad business model. They're still making a profit. You could dump it on private equity where they just skim off all the profit for now, and then they throw away the rest. So they've done that with so many American companies before, Sears, Kmart, etc. In this case, they would start doing it with media. So generally speaking, people don't want that block of cable properties. That's part of why Warner Brothers is splitting it off. But Paramount does want it. Why? Because Larry Ellison is the biggest donor to the IDF, and and we've shown it now in so many different ways. Wants America and American media to support his beloved Israel. So he's trying to buy TikTok. He's already bought CBS. They've already put Barry Weiss, the #1 fan of Israel in American media, as the head of CBS News. She just installed their most pro-Israel anchor as the head of CBS Evening News. And so he wants to do that to CNN as well, to serve Donald Trump and to serve Israel. So that's why they want that. So why does Trump want it included in the deal, even if Netflix buys it? And Netflix has nothing to do with Israel, right? Because it would make the deal more expensive. And if it's more expensive and you're including some junk with it, then Netflix isn't going to want to buy it as much, and neither is anyone else. And that leaves the only bidder being Paramount. So that way Trump doesn't even have to block the merger. He could just say, well, Netflix didn't want it. They had to include CNN and all the cable companies. And since it was too expensive and they didn't want it, I guess Paramount's gonna have to take it. And I guess CNN is now going to be Trump and Israel Central. I mean, as if they weren't already Israel Central. But it's never enough for the Ellisons. Everything has to be 200% in favor of Israel. So that's what this is about. But look, Jordan, last thing is, the good news is none of this matters, because if the Ellisons buy CNN, it's just gonna be the same thing as CBS. Nobody's gonna watch it. You know it's pure Israeli propaganda. It's not news, it's weirdo marketing for a different country. Who would be stupid enough to watch that and believe that it's real news?
Yeah, and I think the one interesting thing out of this, it reflects the decision and maybe the pulling of strings to get Colbert off the air. They said it was a financial decision. Well, you're making a $108 billion offer to buy Warner and now potentially CNN. Seems like you have enough money to pay Colbert.
Yeah. No, they don't like that he's criticizing Trump. And by the way, look, super last thing, if you're so thin-skinned as a politician that you need your donor buddies to buy the media to kiss your ass, then you're not a very good politician, okay? And you're weak, you're pathetic. If an ally of mine said, let's go buy up all the media and make them support us, I'd say, no, it's America. Let people say whatever they want. No, you don't interfere with Fox News, I don't care. Let Fox News say whatever they want, and let's go deliver for the American people, and they'll love us for it, and we won't have to worry about any of the media. But no, the people in power don't care about American people. They don't care about freedom of speech, freedom of the press. They don't care about Constitution. They don't care about anything that's related to America. All they care about is protect the people in power. So let them buy whatever crap that they want. The minute the Ellisons buy something, never use it again. Problem solved. All right, we're out of time here. We're gonna do the revolution next. Thank you, Jordan. We appreciate you, brother. And I have a fun guest for you guys. I promised to you in the beginning. He's a guy who used to actually work at Move On, and now believes we can get the revolution through yoga. Come on, let's have a little bit of fun. And we're gonna talk about memes against the corruption in government as well. We'll see you in a minute there. Welcome to the revolution. So this attempt at a peaceful political revolution. Why? Because our government sucks. It's run by the worst people on earth who take money from donors, betray you almost every single day, and serve those donors and basically rob your money and give it to them. So before we get to our guests, real quick, I'm going to invite memes. So can we make good memes and can we make them popular? I don't know. Well, let's try. So what kind of memes do I want? Give me graphics and fun stuff about corruption, about government, about the donor class, about the politicians. These days, I'm in a dirty kind of mood. So make it funny, make it dirty, make it anything you want, okay? Don't spare anyone. The politicians and the national media are the worst people on earth, but make fun of them, okay? Oh, where's the money? Oh, I can't tell if the millions of dollars affect people. Oh, I work in mainstream media. Anyways, all right, now we're gonna go to our guest. I'm gonna try to calm down. So earlier today, I promised you guys that we would talk to someone who believes in revolution through yoga. Reggie Hubbard is that man. He used to work at Move On, and now he's a teacher, activist, strategist, and a peaceful revolutionary, guy right after my own heart. He's the founder and chief serving officer of Active Peace. And Reggie, first, welcome.
Good to see you again, Cenk. Good to be with you.
Yeah, good to be with you, brother. It's been a minute since you've been on. Good to have you back.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah, and today I was going to try to be calm, and then we got to a story about Randy Fine talking about how we should kill all mainstream Muslims, and I needed your help with the yoga. Okay, so tell me what you're doing first, and then I want to figure out how this is going to help lead to peace and revolution.
Yeah, so I still have my toe in politics, right? You can't go from being where I was and move on and then be like, okay, I'm done, especially given the current state of affairs in the world. But what I've done since leaving Move On is I've undertaken like about 1,000, 1,200 hours of yoga and meditation teacher training and tried to teach folks in the movement, if you are running your mind crazy and or taking on the hate that's coming at you, it's actually a net negative to the movement, right? That's not to give any like thumbs up to what's happening. I keep forgetting that setting is on my computer, but like not to give a thumbs up, right? So that's my meme for you. But not to give a thumbs up for what's happening, but just because other people are being crazy, it doesn't have to make you crazy. And so I try and give people the tools to keep their peace while they wage their revolution.
Okay, so, but I like venting. So why is keeping your peace helpful?
Well, venting is keeping your peace, right? Because one of the things that we tend to do in activist communities is we keep it to ourselves and work harder. I don't know if you've known this, but 20 months ago, I had a stroke and I almost left this plane. And so I now know that keeping stress inside is a killer. And so luckily I had the tools when the stroke was going down to be like, oh my God, this is happening. And used my awareness to focus on what I needed to do in that moment, survived the stroke and had a miraculous recovery. And I think that situation that I've been through is what I'm talking about here. So discharge the craziness that's coming towards you, create an opportunity where once that's out of your system, you keep focus on the good, but you can't focus on the good holding on to the bad. So venting is part of it, but also giving space, giving voice to your frustrations in community is part of organizing, but that's not the end of the story. You give voice to your frustration so that you can share your dreams.
That's interesting. Okay, well then I feel better about what I do because I definitely vent every day and I do get it out of my system. And actually at home, like folks sometimes will think, oh, Cenk's super angry normally. No, when I'm off air, I'm not angry almost at all. And so maybe I'm accidentally doing the thing that you're saying that people should do. Now yoga physically is a little bit more challenging for me. So I know you're getting folks in Congress to do it, and then I got curious about that. So you're like, you pull in Bernie Sanders and Chris Coons and be like, come on guys, let's go, we're doing yoga. Oh,
well, I have taught yoga. So I've taught by invitation. I've taught yoga and meditation to Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley and her staff, Deb Holland. When I keep forgetting these damn things.
I know, it's awesome. It's not my favorite part of this interview. I want everyone who gets interviewed to have that same setting on. Okay. See, we're already having fun.
Yeah, totally. Right. So Ayanna Pressley and her staff, Rashida Tlaib and her staff, it was during the height of the pandemic, and I still teach these organizations and staffers, like, when stress comes, here's how you keep peace. Here's how you discharge. So I'll give you an example. People spend hours like this, and we don't even think that whether it be on the phone or whether it be at your computer, 8 hours like this makes you like a zombie. So the yoga practice is like moving your shoulders or shaking out your hands or doing wrist things so that you can come back into balance so you can keep focused on your work, right? So, and focus on your mission. But like, if you're like this, you're eventually going to turn into the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and we already have them in power right now. You don't need to do that as a progressive activist.
All right, I'm such a boomer these days. There's a song called "Shake It Off." It's by Taylor Swift, right?
Right.
Okay, nailed it. My daughter, exactly. My daughter's gonna be like, oh yeah. Okay, anyways, so
it's your job as a dad.
So no, I'm totally in favor of "Shake It Off," and you're helping me shake off Randy Fine here. No, apparently I still haven't let it go. Anyways, when you worked in politics, were you super stressed out?
Oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Do you feel better now, Reggie? Like, are you a happier person?
I think that I have more peace, right? I've always been good at keeping happiness, but I didn't have more peace. So I'm at peace now. And what I mean by that is that, yes, the world is worlding and the world is crazy, and I'm doing some pretty amazing things in the world. I've created a teaching practice, virtual and in person, that allows activists to create joy in the midst of this crazy shit, right? Pardon me. But like, in the midst of this craziness, people have peace and are viewing activism as a creative act as opposed to like drudgery, right? Because more often than not, like, many communities are like getting together and like, this is terrible, this is terrible. I give people an opportunity to be like, this is terrible, and here's the beautiful thing that we're going to create in this terrible circumstance.
So look, number one, I love it because it's different and it's trying to bring a little bit of, peace, balance in the world in a personal way. Like, so we want peace on a global scale, but we should also want peace on an individual level, right? In a personal way. So we should be consistent about that. We do Operation Joy here on Tuesdays for the same reason, right? So, if we're trying to, why do we do all the things that we do? Trying to bring positive change in the world, right? So that we can make people a little bit, more satisfied, better off, happier. Well, why don't we skip to happiness? Like, while we're doing all that, let's also take a detour to happiness right now, instead of 20 years from now after we win or whatever it is that happens. Right. Okay, but do you also think that it's like not doing it and being super stressed out and all, et cetera, is quote unquote poisoning the movement?
Totally.
Tell me how, tell me why you think that.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I teach is that it's impossible to have a fresh idea from an exhausted mind. So many people are like, I'm burning the midnight oil, blah, blah, blah. So not fully understanding that you're degrading the quality of your intellect by being exhausted all the time and not resetting and not recalibrating and those sorts of things. So that's the first part. The second part is that when you take an opportunity to clear stress in your body and in your mind, you come to the work with a fresher perspective, as opposed to, like I said, we think of the energetic equivalent of this for hours. So continuing to do that to your energy, that's where you operate from. Whereas if you reset, you can be more focused, clear, and on message, as opposed to just the accumulated habits of letting stress without any clearance. That's what I'm talking about. Peace is not like not seeing the horrors of the world. It's seeing the horrors of the world and not taking those horrors on personally.
Yeah, you know what sucks is that bad guys aren't bothered by that, right? So, like, we're all stressed out about the stuff they're doing, not even the stuff we're doing.
And they don't care, right?
Right. And meanwhile, they're like, da, 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 da. Hey, we just started another war. Tons of people are gonna get killed.
Yeah, the president said that he gave his handling of the economy an A++++++, and I'm like,
no, but Reggie, maybe he's doing your yoga.
No, he ain't.
Because he's destroying the economy, and he's like, I got this. A+++++. Okay.
Yeah, that's delusion though. That's not truth and peace.
Yeah, it is definitely an illusion. He's trying to trick himself, let alone others. His whole life is an illusion. He's a con man extraordinaire. Okay, but what do I got other than yoga? Because for me, yoga physically is going to be challenging, and so can I meditate? Can I do something else?
Yeah, well, you see behind me here, I have these sound bowls. So one of the things that I have done since Leave and Move On is I've got all these sound bowls and gongs, because the quickest way to peace for me is through a pleasant sound. We live in a society that venerates noise, so whether it be like horns or screaming or all those sorts of things. Whereas, for me, the quickest way to peace is here. Like a simple, peaceful sound with my eyes closed allows my mind to come to a place of like, cool. And then I can get back to whether it be my strategic task or the organizing or whatever I'm doing, because I clear my mind, right? So the other thing that I would say is yoga, there's a physical component, but I offer meditation and sound meditation to clear your mind so that you can approach old problems with new ways of thinking.
Okay, so that's not gonna work for me either, because I'm no good at music. But I can clear my mind with one thing.
You're good at listening to music, right?
Barely.
Okay. I love the honesty, man. That's what's up.
But I got my own version. Banana cream pie. Clear the mind right away. Okay, so everybody's got their own drug. You know what? So I'm gonna come back to mindfulness and how it's gonna lead to revolution in a second. But you mentioned music. I know we have a video of you doing music. God, I'm so bad at anything that's cool. Anyways, okay. But part of the reason I'm gonna play it is like, so this is left wing, right wing, et cetera. This is all coming together to try to get our government back and et cetera. But I am gonna drive the right wing a little bit crazy just by playing music for peace. Let's watch.
Love it.
Yeah, okay, I see it. And different strokes for different folks. Like me, I can't. I don't know. It's not. But when I watch it, I go, okay, yeah. I totally see how that's peaceful, and I totally see how that's your art and your expression, and almost a form of your venting. I scream.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad that you see that. So the other thing, on the other side of that camera is 30 people, right? From all walks of life, mostly from an activist bent. Many of them are asleep because those tones allow for them to just be like, so when they wake up from wherever they go, they are refreshed to take on the world and not be so stressed out. So on the other side of that camera is 30 people in various states of sleep or meditation.
Okay, so talk to me. Oh, by the way, there is one piece of, like, one genre of music that does definitely help me, put me in a Zen mood of mind.
Talk to me.
Christmas carols.
Okay.
Okay, I love Christmas songs. So right after, like, as soon as Thanksgiving dinner is over, my daughter puts on the Christmas songs, and we're off to the races from here to New Year's. So that gives me joy. All right, mindfulness, is it gonna lead to the revolution, or is it the revolution itself?
I think it's the revolution itself. So I grew up listening to artists, activists like Gil Scott-Heron, and he talked about the revolution will not be televised. Like the revolution he was talking about is the revolution of consciousness. So being aware of, so one thing that I teach folks now is that the government is seeking to stress you out. So recognizing the tools of the government that are now used to like pick your nerves and protecting yourself from that is part of the revolution, because like you're like, I will not fall for this craziness. This is what's happening. Mindfulness is about being honest and loving with what's happening and then doing what you need to do in the first place. So folks, when they see the president say something racist, they're like, can you believe the president said something racist? I'm like, he's been racist for 80 years. I can believe it. And mindfulness allows me to be like, yes, this is who he is. This is what's happening. I choose not to invest in that, and I will focus on what I need to do. And when I started thinking that way and doing that way, my idea went from an idea to a practice that has like impacted like leaders and tens of thousands of people across the country and the world.
You know, I had this debate with one of our other hosts, Michael Schur, once. I forget if it was on air or off air, but oh no, it was during Old School, one of our fun shows. I said that, shoot, what was it? So for that I'm culturally, this is what it was. I said, I feel like sometimes I'm a little culturally right wing, okay? And what I mean by that is, I'm a bit of a Neanderthal as a gut instinct, and when you say mindfulness, like it brings me back to me growing up in the 1980s and 90s and stuff. Totally. And I'm like, mindfulness.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right? Okay, so, but totally. Let me see if I got it right. Now, I hope I'm past a little, like an inch past Neanderthal, so let's see if I got it. So it just means like, don't go on autopilot. Be aware that, hey, wait, this is my mind. I can do what I want with it, right? I could choose to get stressed. I could choose not to get stressed. I can choose to be shocked. I could choose not to be shocked. But either way, I'm in control of my own mind.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
And using that in a way to build and create the future that you want to create. Right, so using the power of your mind rather than focus on someone else's shortcomings or something that makes you angry about someone, instead of you being angry about that, you're like, okay, that makes me mad. I will no longer focus on that, and I'll focus on the thing that gives me joy. I'll focus on the thing that inspires and helps people. The most precious resource we have as human beings is our time and attention. And how we waste it on things that don't matter is mindlessness. Mindfulness is being like, look, I got this superpower here, and I choose to invest it here, in these aims, personal or professional or spiritual. And in so doing, I have the control, I have the agency, no one else does. And with that agency comes tremendous power. That, I believe, is the revolution.
I get it now. Now I get it.
Yes.
Okay, right there with you. Okay. And by the way, Reggie, I also didn't know that the revolution will not be televised was a reference to like opening up your consciousness, and that's why it's not televised. I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I would have said, wait a minute, I want to televise the revolution. In fact, that's what this show is. Right? But you know what? Ironically, come to think of it, we went full circle, maybe by revealing that it's opening up your mind and getting control of your own mind, right? No matter which direction your mind is going, that we just accidentally televised the revolution.
I'm here for that.
Okay, and by the way, once you clear your mind and you stop being so stressed or
and reactive,
and I'll invent a word here. Powerlessly angry, right? When you're powerlessly angry, you're not really helping anyone, whether it's yourself or anyone else. Whereas when you go, wait a minute, let me think about this. Instead of having it bother me, let me use that energy to go actually try to fix the problem.
You're a foot past Neanderthal now. You were shooting for an inch. You are 12 inches past Neanderthal now, family. Like, look at you, man.
Okay. Maybe there is hope for me after all.
I love it, man. Good work. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like we did a session here. Okay, and before I let you go, two things. One, so tell folks about Active Peace. Like, what can they do with it, et cetera? Tell us about that.
So Active Peace, virtually or in person, I have classes. We talk about issues like we just did. So why mindfulness matters, what it really is, not what the mindfulness industrial complex thinks it is. I play sound for folks. We have Prince-themed classes, like coming up in the new year, we'll have Martin Luther King and social justice-themed classes, talking about how we align mind, body, and spirit to do the work of coming together as opposed to like falling prey to coming apart. And so activepeaceyoga.com is where you can find information about that. But I also, like I said, I care too much about our shared humanity to not be involved in politics at some level. So I, in a business capacity, advise other organizations on here's how you can get your issue more seen or relevant by focusing your energy. So it's not just about like yoga and meditation classes, it's using the tools of yoga and meditation to help people advance their causes as well.
Okay, so activepeaceyoga.com, but I'm gonna add an extra question in here because I noticed the sign behind you for the artist formerly known as Prince. So does Prince have a role in the revolution?
Prince always has a role in the revolution, and Prince is one of the patron saints of Active Peace. So Prince and Jimi Hendrix are the patron saints of Active Peace, two black male creatives who just lit the world on fire with their artistry and revolutionized people by being who they were and not caring about what people told them that they were. So totally, Prince. There's always a place for the revolution in Prince.
All right, sounds good. And before I leave you, the last thing I was going to say is, okay, so just to redeem myself yet another inch, maybe we can get to 13 inches here past the Neanderthal.
Baker's dozen.
My favorite musician is Chuck Berry. So
okay,
not bad.
Totally.
All right.
Totally.
Okay, not bad. So you know what I love about Chuck Berry, among 1,000 things, is that so Johnny Be Good, I think, is the American song, and I have the version where they're originally recording it. And they start it up, and they do 3 takes before they get it right? And in one of the takes, he's paying so much attention to the piano that he says, like, no, you're slipping into Roll Over Beethoven, right? Come back to this. And so as he's playing, and as he's so in the moment, so mindful that he's listening to every instrument, every part of it, and at the end they finish, and they've created maybe the best, in my opinion, the best song, the most representative song in American history, right? And he goes, that's pretty good. So that brother was mindful.
Totally.
All right, Reggie Hubbard, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. You're amazing. Thank you for giving us a little bit of peace. I mean, look at what Reggie did, right? You saw me an hour ago, like yelling at the top of my lungs about Randy Fine, and here I am chilling out and enjoying the music. All right, brother. See you soon.
Peace, man. Thank you very much.
All right, you too. All right, guys, I'm gonna do 2 things. One, I'm gonna read a couple of your comments because a bunch of you wrote in about Reggie, and that's fun. And then, and I don't know if you got memes here. By the way, you can send the memes at tyt.com/ideas, tyt.com/ideas. And then afterwards, I'm gonna do a bonus episode, a story I have never told in 23 years of Young Turks. And it's related to this, and you might be kind of amazed by it, about my personal life, something I did at the age of 25. A fresh new story, never told on air before. So that's for the members, but hold, first for everybody. Trump lawyer wrote in, these are all members from different places. I dislike yoga myself, but it does indeed work wonders. See, look at that open mind. Worst case scenario, Dragon says, chair yoga for the old people. My dog don't face downward no more. I'm not sure my dog ever faced downward, but so I'm right there with you. Don Dada Dragon says, he's got a great point. Back in July, the ICE stories made me so mad, and as a result, I was making much more angry tirades and using my best debate skills. After Kirk died, I took a bit of a break from the world. I love John, but starting my morning with Trump stupidity really hurt my mental health. I definitely need to make a return to TDR, but for now, I'm balanced and happy. Trump won't make me lose my mind. Yeah, no, guys, we can get the story, we can know what's going on in the world, and we can even vent. And maybe you're vicariously venting through me, great, wonderful, etc. But don't let it bum you out, man, because Reggie's right. If you're bummed out, you're depressed and you take no action. That leads to less action, right? You want to be energized so you can take action to fix the problems in the world. And it's, as we talk about in Operation Joy, you don't have an extra responsibility to be depressed while you're working towards positive change. In fact, you'll be better off if you're happy working towards positive change. We'll all be better off. Don Dada Dragon also wrote in, I love sound bowls and other bowls. Me, I mainly like bowls of cereal, and things along those lines. Ms. Dolo4 on Twitch said a lot of women's internal health issues are linked to repressing their emotions. Release it and express yourself, folks, in healthy ways, of course. Nice Under Toi wrote in on YouTube member section. I'm a boomer, and if I meditate, all I'm doing is thinking about what bothers me. I took up stair climbing. It's an amazing activity, and in only 15 minutes, you have the best workout you could ever have. Yeah, climbing stairs is no joke. So I hear you on that. But when you meditate, try this again, I mentioned this in Operation Joy, but it's relevant here for all of this, right? Especially in today's segment and how we structured it in the topic. So can you do this for me? Try that next time you meditate, just think of positive thoughts. Like, okay, you got a negative thought, of course we all do, right? We all have a lot of negative thoughts. Push them out of your mind. Think about the last time you had a great meal, or a meal you want to have, or the last time you did something that you loved, the movie that you loved, the book that you loved, etc. Or the last time you got a hug from a loved one that you loved. Focus on that for as long as you can, a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, right? And see if that works. Only allow positive thoughts in because you're taking a time out from life. In the real world, you have to have negative thoughts. You can't help but be stressed about paying the rent or the mortgage. No problem, right? But when you're meditating, the whole point is a time out to think about things that make you feel better. So think about positive thoughts. Give it a shot. All right, people keep writing in. Okay, Tommy Z8, et cetera, writes in, a peaceful empire is a non-existent, this is about politics, non-existent empire. What do you want, Cenk? America to be #1 or joining the rest? I don't miss. Okay, Tom. We could be #1 economically. We could be #1 in life expectancy, in happiness, in education, all these wonderful things we're gonna be #1 in. We don't have to be #1 at war. In fact, if we're #1 at war, we won't be #1 at all those things. I think you were joking, but in case you weren't, that's my real answer. Okay, Nolan Buxus 1703 says, none of us are Jesus, so why expect everyone to be Jesus? None of us are Buddha, so why expect nirvana? None of us are God, so why expect perfection? Seems dumb. I can free myself, man. Thanks. But that's good, right? So you're right. We don't need to be perfect. You crazy? Nobody's gonna be able to meet those expectations. It's totally impossible. You know how many mistakes I've made? I mean, I say thousands. I hope I didn't get into the millions, but I'm positive I'm in the thousands. I just don't know how many, but that's called being human. So give yourself a break and dare I say it on the revolution? Love yourself. It's okay. I give you permission. Okay, now we're gonna do a break. The rest is for members only. The story I've never told about a decision I made when I was 25 that changed my life. Damn. Okay, that's why God, Buddha, Jesus, YouTube, Neil Mohan made that join button underneath the video. Join, become a member. I'll tell you that story, or tyt.com/join. See you there in a minute.
Dolphins, Eskimos, who cares? It's all a bunch of tree-hugging hippie crap.